back and forth. One thing that's been consistent is the pain of currencies versus the dollar. The euro and the peso show this really well. Euro weakening by 0.9%. We are at 108 at this moment, John. It is both tariffs and rate differentials. The peso also under pressure. Dollar stronger by the peso by 1.6%. That is at its weakest so far of the session tonight. It's not just trade, John, but it is also the carry trade under threat if there is indeed a Trump presidency.
Danny, thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to get you a headline out of Florida. Anne-Marie, a headline you were looking for.
That's right. Florida voters are rejecting expanded access to abortion. This runs counter what we've seen the past 2 years when abortion was specifically on the ballot to enshrine abortion rights in a state constitution or to expand it. So that says to me that Florida has went very red in terms of not just who they're voting on, in terms of Rick Scott, in terms of going for the former President Donald Trump, but also the fact that they do not want to expand abortion access after 6 weeks. Governor Ron DeSantis said that if they were to expand it to fetal viability or 24 weeks, he said that would be the end of the pro-life movement. One thing we should note, it needed 60% support to pass. And what I'm seeing right now in some of this early counting, it got very close to that, about 57, 58%, not enough to get over the finish line.
We've got a lot to get through. Polls closing in 3 battleground states. Let's bring in the Bloomberg team from across the country. Romaine Bostick joins us from Detroit, Michigan. Brendan Case in Phoenix, Arizona. Mark Niquette in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mark, let's begin with you. Your focus this evening, what is it?
Right now it's on counting ballots. The polls are closed here in Michigan, in Wisconsin, but the state has a law that doesn't allow election officials to begin processing and counting absentee ballots until the polls open on election day, so they can't get a count ahead of the election. I'm at the Milwaukee County Central Count Facility where ballots are being counted, and there was a snafu here earlier today where officials had to re-scan 31,000 absentee ballots because there were some concerns about doors not being properly closed on the scanning machines. So we're in for a long night in Wisconsin because we'll need to get the results of the absentee ballots here in Milwaukee to be able to call the race statewide.
Well, we're in for a long night. That is certainly correct. Brendan, I want to bring you into this picture right now in terms of what is going on in Arizona, because we just got this headline from Florida in terms of voters rejecting expanded access to abortion. Abortion was also on the ballot specifically in Arizona as well.
Yeah, that's a very big watch item tonight in Arizona. And here in the state, the polls just closed. And we're expecting at 10 o'clock Eastern, the first big drop of information from Maricopa County. Maricopa, of course, being the largest county by far in Arizona. And what we're expecting is most of the early votes. We're talking about a pretty big number, 1.1 million, 1.2 million. This is a group of votes that could end up accounting for something like more than half the total votes in the county. And we should know a lot more in just 1 hour about what those votes are. Now, will we know enough to call a winner? That is far from clear. We still have other more recent votes coming in from mail, and we've got also all of the election day voting that has to be tallied. These numbers will be coming in later tonight, tomorrow. County officials have been at pains to say it could take a day, 2 days, even more before the media is ready to call a winner. That said, the state does lean Republican. Joe Biden eked out a very narrow victory 4 years ago. This year is expected also to be close, but in the most recent polling average in the New York Times, Trump was up by 3 points. And so we'll be watching that very closely.
Trump also winning Ohio, according to the Associated Press. Thank you, Brendan. That is just coming in. Romaine, Ohio potentially bodes well for some of these blue wall states. You're in Michigan. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I want to actually start out with 2 key congressional races. These are the open seats in the 7th and 8th congressional district of Michigan. We have about 21% of the ballots coming in the 7th district, now skewing towards the Republican candidate, Tom Barrett, who's running against Curtis Hertel. This is, of course, going to be a very contentious seat here. This is the seat vacated by Alyssa Slotkin, of course, who is running for the Senate seat. And right now, the early tallies from those votes coming in show she has a modest lead over her challenger, challenger, Mike Rogers. Meanwhile, when you go down over into the 8th district, this is a more working class district here. It includes Flint, Michigan, and Saginaw. Way too early to call it right now, but a slight skew towards the Democratic side. Remember, this is the seat that was vacated by Dan Kildee, who effectively stepped down from office, chose not to run because of health care issues involving cancer and a few other things. We're keeping an eye on those two close races. Meanwhile, as far as the presidential election, while only about 10% of the votes statewide have been submitted from the precinct so far, we are getting some key counties which have a much more meaningful return right now. The Secretary of State's office is saying that almost 50% of the vote is in a key county, Oakland County, and right now Kamala Harris is leading in that county by 14 points right now. However, in the county of Kent, which is also going to be very pivotal, only a few percentage of the voting precincts have submitted the votes, and right now that is way too close to call, less than 1% margin difference between the two candidates.
Romain, thank you, sir. Alongside Brendan and Mark, I want to draw your attention to what's developing in financial markets. Equity futures up by 0.75% on the S&P 500. Clear outperformance on the small caps up by 1.8. Another leg lower in treasuries. Yields now higher by almost 11 basis points on a 10-year. With us around the table, Libby Cantrell of PIMCO, Peter Cheer of Academy Securities. Libby, deep breath. I've said that a few times already this evening. Put this in perspective for us. This market's starting to lean towards Donald Trump. What would you be telling clients right now?
Yeah, I think what we would be telling clients is let's just take a deep breath and wait until all the votes are counted. There's some good signs certainly for Donald Trump in terms of the way that he's been able to increase the rural vote and also maybe get some more urban kind of non-white men in particular. However, this is just, we've seen this both in 2020 and in 2016. There are some mirages potentially. So we would tell our clients, wait until every vote is counted. I think that the folks who are talking about just the processing of the ballots in Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin, that means that this could very well be a long night, a long morning, as we've been talking about, a long week, possibly. So I think everyone just needs to sort of take a step back and we'll see. I mean, again, there are certainly some sort of positive initial signs for former President Trump, but it's not necessarily a trend. And we'll have to wait until the suburbs in particular.
What early initial signs of strength are you seeing for Kamala Harris right now?
Well, yeah, it looks like she's doing maybe a little bit better in some of the counties in Georgia where, Trump had won, but she's actually doing a bit better. Some of the suburbs that she seems like she's doing, somewhat well. So again, I think this is very early. There's a lot of information coming, and we have to just make sure that we are waiting until all the votes are counted. I think in terms of just sort of taking a step back in terms of the market's perspective on this. Our view here is that, as we've talked about, both candidates are going to not be very good for the U.S. deficit. As we've been talking to our clients, the deficit is the biggest loser, regardless of who wins tonight. And so while you are seeing a steepening of the Treasury curve with sort of this expectation that Trump is going to win, I think we might argue that you would see the steepening regardless. And so what we're sort of telling our clients is focus on the trades that you would have, kind of regardless of the election and really kind of look through it.
Peter, given everything Libby is telling you, saying it's too soon to put on these trades, do you think the markets are getting ahead of themselves?
So actually, I would say one thing I actually like doing right now is actually buying the 10-year. I think this 437 level, I think even if Trump wins, we're going to realize he's not going to be quite as dramatic on day one. It's not going to send the deficit spiraling. We've had a big run. We just had 10-year auction today, so I think there's some technicals. And I do agree that if Harris wins, we'll also have problems with the deficit. But I think right now we're a bit overdone. So of all the things I'm looking at, it seems mispriced that I'd take a shot at. That would probably be one. I look at crypto. That's been pushing pretty high, but I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole right now, given what's going on. And I think the rest is we have to wait and see. I would say I was coming in hopefully thinking maybe the pollsters missed something. Maybe there was going to be some trend that was really not captured in any polls. So far, that doesn't appear to be showing up in a meaningful way.
Bond yield higher right now by close to 12 basis points. The 10-year approaching 4.40. Coming up on the program, waiting for results from battleground states including Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Election night 2024 continues.
countdown to the market open as we bring you the first trades across Europe.
We'll debate the most important stories and what will drive the big investment decisions throughout the morning. I'm Guy Johnson.
I'm Kriti Gupta.
And I'm Anna Edwards. Join us every weekday morning for the opening trade, live at 7 a.m. here in London.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
AI, how it has penetrated pretty much all sectors, including music. AI can write music, compose music. How do you see AI changing the landscape in Russia?
Yeah, AI definitely helped. When I did the jewelry, I used the AI, helping me to give some idea, but ultimately you still have to do a lot with it. To just give you very superficial ideas, but at the end you still have to customize and have to really make it and do that. I do not think that AI and the technology can replace the human mind at this moment. Yeah.
Are you concerned one day we won't be able to differentiate designs by AI and designs by an actual designer?
I don't know. For me, I see that, when a designer doing is the spirit, is the heart that the computer don't have.
The countdown is on. Everything you need to get the edge at the end of the market day.
Big tech earnings kick off later this afternoon.
Gilead is coming out right now.
We have take two numbers. Back to the markets, right? Our bread and butter.
NVIDIA is one of the best stories in the tech space.
That actually matters a whole lot more.
It might shock some of your viewers.
You're watching The Close.
Get ahead of tomorrow's trading with The Close. Weekdays on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Live from New York City, it's election night 2024. We've said it a million times this evening already. No surprises so far. 187 to 102, yet there is a surprise in this market apparently. We're leaning towards Trump. Small caps up by more than 2 full percentage points with a broader look at the markets this afternoon and this evening. Here's Danny Berger. Hey, Danny.
John, not only is the Trump trade on, it is now basically at the highs that we've seen it for all night, 2.2%. That is the highs for the small cap index. You're seeing it across asset places, and talking to traders, 9 p.m. was kind of the marker that they gave. That's when they thought we should get a clearer signal of who would be in the lead at this point. Even if it's gone all as expected, this is really the marker for everyone rushing in. When it comes to bonds, we're also looking at yields at highs for the session. Your 10-year yield up nearly 12 basis points. That is the highest level since July, trading at 4.3%. It is the long end that is leading things. That would seem to suggest the fear in this bond market at the moment are deficit concerns. If it was inflation concerns, maybe you'd see more of the shorter end being the thing that leads yields higher. Finally, I want to show you FX because this has been the really volatile era. Just anecdotally talking to different folks out there, speaking with Mark McCormick, saying that he's hearing liquidity is very thin for the FX market at this point. That might be why you see some of the most extremes of moves that we're seeing. The Mexican peso at its weakest so far in the session versus the dollar, 2%. Same goes for the euro. Same goes for the yen, John. This move is now more than 1%. Your dollar yen above 153.
Danny, thank you. Pitichia really struggled with this. This isn't some lazy evening in Tokyo where you can push around markets with a couple of trades. Shouldn't we be well staffed across trading desks worldwide right now?
Yeah, I think they're reasonably well staffed, but again, you're fairly limited, right? You've got the futures as your big choices, so you got those three, and you've got a bond market that's reasonable. And again, I think people are pushing this, but I think, again, if you go back when President Trump...
Markets never sleep, and neither does Interactive Brokers. Discover more opportunities with CME futures across equity indices, interest rates, FX, energy, agriculture, and metals. Access CME futures around the clock at Interactive Brokers.
Cooler heads, assuming he wins, I think cooler heads will prevail and really start thinking, okay, a lot of what has built this deficit story has been, I think, pundits taking his extreme views and saying, well, if these things all get implemented, this is going to be ridiculous. Not everything's going to get implemented. It's going to take time. So I think longer term, we have deficit problems. I think that's growing. I think for a trade right now, everyone pushed too far one way. You've had a lot of fast money coming in. Maybe 440 is not quite the right level. 450, I think, certainly is, but I'd be nibbling here. I would be covering shorts. I haven't liked the bond market in months, so if I can finally say I actually like it here. And don't forget, we have the Fed coming up.
But to John's point, we thought the trading desks would be stacked. If there's low liquidity, does that mean potentially there's just conviction, but with a few people?
That's probably it. It's right again. It's not everyone's sitting there at the computer. Not everyone's feeding things. It's a lot of very algo driven. And again, I think everyone's also facing the same sort of noise that we are. Right. This could flip. Ohio was, I think, light red when we started this segment. Flipped to dark red. Things could go the other way. So I think no one's really willing to put a lot of money or big bets on the table. Especially if you're a market maker sitting in New York trying to trade Tokyo hours. You're just trying not to get hurt. You're not trying to make a fortune. You're trying not to get hurt.
I want to keep going back to the scores. So we're at 187, 102 in the race for 270. And as we've said a few times already this evening, this is just a consequence of the order that the states have dropped so far. So no big lead for Trump in the grand scheme of things because we had no big surprises. But this market is seeing a big lean towards the so-called Trump trade. Small caps are outperforming in equities. Bonds are getting sold. Yields are higher by 12 basis points on a 10-year. And you're seeing the dollar stronger across the board, both in G10 and in EM, with dollar Mexican now at session highs. We're seeing a 2 percentage point move on dollar Mex. Libby, if you had a word of caution for anyone in this market that's maybe getting ahead of themselves just a little bit, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say that, Georgia and North Carolina have not even been really, unofficially called. And of course, even if Trump wins Georgia and North Carolina, which in some ways I think a lot of people expected him to do well. Obviously, he won North Carolina in last cycle, and Biden only won Georgia by a few basis points practically. So in many ways, if he wins those, not necessarily surprising. That means that she has to win the blue wall. Like she then has to, and we've been talking about this, I know, for months, is just how important Pennsylvania is. Pennsylvania would be the tipping point kind of anyway, the tipping point state, but it is even more crucial for her. So again, I think, to Peter's point, I think the market's maybe getting a little bit over its skis. And then I would absolutely agree with him, and just in terms of extrapolating too much of what on kind of the top of the ticket. As you all know, we've talked so much about the composition of Congress and how much that's going to matter. And if you do even have a red wave, or red sweep, it is going to be by a very small margin. And that's just going to be, functionally provide some guardrails in terms of what he can actually get done. As we've been telling our clients, it not only matters, who has the majority in these chambers, but it's the margin of the majority. And what we've seen with the Republican House, for instance, is that they maybe haven't been as productive as they wanted to.
No, switching around speakers a few times a year is not exactly productive to getting legislation through. But you mentioned Pennsylvania. Everyone mentions Pennsylvania. What people are telling me is that we might not know that until Friday. What does the market do between now and potentially a Friday or a Saturday call on one state?
Well, I think it really depends, Anne-Marie, if it comes down just to that state, right? So, again, if Trump wins both Georgia and both North Carolina, and those states are able to be called, unofficially at least, and if he wins, say, Wisconsin, then this thing is basically over. And then I think Pennsylvania, matters less because he'll have effectively gotten to that 270. However, if it all comes down to Pennsylvania, I think you're going to see increased volatility. You'll see more uncertainty. I think, like Peter, we're long-term investors, so we get to see through these events. We probably would view this as an opportunity. I think, our portfolios have been keeping our powder dry in order to take advantage of dislocations that might arise from that.
I think
You're not seeing through anything, are you?
No, I think to pile on to all the things you said, not only the majority, how big it is matters, but a lot of the people on the Republican side do run as fiscal conservatives. So they're not all about to just pile on the bandwagon and say, let's load the deficit up, right? Some people got there beside that. So I think he will have a lot of trouble getting whatever his full agenda may be.
A lot of people are going to be listening to that and saying, what is Peter Cheer talking about? There's a fiscal conservatives down in Washington, D.C.
There might be some. There at least allegedly. They'll have to fight through it. There's going to be some.
Who are they?
That remains to be seen. But again, if they have a majority of 2, you only need 4 or 5. We're actually diehards.
We saw this movie back in 2016, 2017. I didn't see any fiscal conservatives then.
Sorry, John, not to interrupt, but I feel like the big difference between now and 2017, when he passed his Trump tax cuts, is that the score was a lot less, so it was scored much, but also the initial conditions were very different, right? You were looking at 3.5% deficits in 2017. Now what are they? They're 6.5%. So that was what I actually think is quite different, and why, what we're saying is, regardless of who wins the presidency, tax is going to be a topic that they're either a candidate or either president's going to have to deal with, and I think there's going to be much less sort of room for maneuver because of A, high starting deficits, but then B, very small congressional majorities, again, regardless of what the composition is.
So, Pete, are we suggesting that this time around, In 2024, the bond market acts as a constraining force over the tax cut hopes and dreams of people down in Washington, D.C.
I'm not saying we won't get to 5% on 10s next year at some point. I'm just saying I think right now it's a little bit overdone. People have got a little bit ahead of themselves. Plus, if something comes and reverses any of the things that we're currently seeing, it could change. I do think it would be nice if we came down to just one state was holding us back and that the others were pretty clear, because I am a little bit worried if there's a lot of states that are within this margin of basis points and this starts dragging on for a week or longer, I think you start seeing some geopolitical activity that's not good for the U.S. across the world, right? We will be so intensely focused. You've had a president who has really stayed out of the limelight to allow Harris to run her campaign. I think there'd be a lot of confusion of what was on the U.S.'s attention if this starts drifting into next week. So I hope it's either one or two states that are at the margin and that it's solvable by the weekend, because I do think if that starts dragging on and gets really contentious, I think, whether it's Iran, whether it's, Russia, whether it's North Korea, they might try and take some advantage of that situation.
America can't agree on much at the moment, but we can all agree on that. We want this to be over pretty soon. In the bond market right now, yields are higher by 12 basis points on a 10-year, 439. We're approaching 440. In the equity market, the outperformance on the small caps. In foreign exchange, the dollar is stronger. The score's 188 to 102. It's the race to 270. Up next, still awaiting results from key battlegrounds as our special coverage of Election Night 2024 continues.
In case you missed it, on Bloomberg Crypto.
Voters want to see legislation on market structure. They want to see standards enacted in legislation for stable coins. The Harris campaign, like the Trump campaign, understands that 52 million Americans want to see crypto in their future, and that it's critically important that any new administration address those concerns and proactively, productively engage with legislation that's now pending in the Congress and rulemaking that is long overdue to provide people with the stability and clarity that this market requires.
There's one thing I feel very confident about, and that is the Biden administration's approach to regulation of the crypto industry. That is coming to an end for sure. And I think no matter where this plays out at the presidential level, we'll have a more constructive engagement with this industry. It's a critical industry, it's an innovative technology, and I think the United States should be at the forefront and leading.
Don't miss the next Bloomberg Crypto.
Earnings season is here.
Third quarter earnings season, as we've been talking about, really in high gear.
Bloomberg is first to break the numbers.
We have some big earnings after the bell. Earnings from Caesars crossing the Bloomberg terminal.
Mondelez is reporting to Reddit, AMD, Snap.
Let's keep the conversation going.
With the smartest insights.
The bar keeps getting higher. 40% growth rate.
500.
When your comps get tougher, how much can you beat and raise?
Continuing coverage on Bloomberg.
My God.
Context changes everything.
Bringing you up-to-the-minute financial news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Michael McKee at the Federal Reserve, and this is Bloomberg.
Jumpstart your trading day on Bloomberg Open Interest.
2 hours of single stock stories that are driving the opening bell action.
We'll take you to Wall Street, Main Street, the C-suite, and beyond.
These are companies that are growing their market.
The great companies in the U.S. are the companies hitting the cutting edge. That's a different story.
Get the inside track on what's buzzing in markets.
With the players who are shaping the narrative.
If you have bad earnings reports, you're going to get punished.
They're not buying what the industry is selling. Join us on Bloomberg Open Interest. Weekdays at
72,500 na guys. Oh my god, we might reach all-time high in the next hour or so. 72,600. Oh my goodness, this is exciting.
Bloomberg is first to break the numbers.
We have some big earnings after the bell. Earnings from Caesars crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Mondelez reporting credit. AMD, Snap. Let's keep the conversation going.
With the smartest insights.
Kailan mo? 72,500.
Comps get tougher. How much can it be the race?
Continuing coverage on Bloomberg.
Oh god.
Context changes everything.
Bringing you up-to-the-minute financial news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Michael McKee at the Federal Reserve. This is Bloomberg.
Don't start your trading day on Bloomberg Open Interest.
2 hours of single stock stories that are driving the opening bell. We'll take you to Wall Street, Main Street, the C-suite, and beyond.
These are companies that are growing their market.
Great companies in the U.S. with the companies hitting the cutting edge. That's a different story.
Get the inside track on what's buzzing in markets
With the players who are shaping the narrative.
If you have bad earnings reports, you're going to get punished.
They're not buying what the industry is selling. Join us on Bloomberg Open Interest. Weekdays at
Wow. $72,500 na guys. Oh my god, we might reach all-time high in the next hour or so. $72,600. Oh my goodness.
Earnings from Caesars crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Mondelez reporting credit. AMD, Snap. Let's keep the conversation going.
With the smartest insights.
Oh my god, 72,700. Yeah, Bitcoin is doing the move. 73. We just need to go to 73,800 and we are there now. Oh my god. Come on! Huh?
Uy, nga, 70 nga, nasa 130 ni sa akin yun, 72 na, nasa 27 pa rin. Ano yan?
Ano magkaroon sa'yo?
Diba sa akin, 127 pa lang. Yung 72,
70.
70 pa lang, 130 na eh. Tapos ngayon, 172 na, 127 pa lang.
Hindi.
Oo.
Ganun pa rin yun. Mali lang yung ano. Kala mo. Oh my god guys, I'm on live stream by the way, okay? Nirinig ka ng lahat ng mundo. Wala na nakikinig. 72,500 na guys. Oh my god, we might reach all-time high in the next hour. Or so. 72,600. Oh my god, 72,700. Yeah, Bitcoin is doing the move. 73. We just need to go to 73,800 and we are there now.
saan yun? 72 na. Nasa 27 pa rin.
Ano magkaroon sa'yo?
Diba sa akin, 27 pa lang. Yung 72, 70 pa lang, o 30 na yun. Oo, yun ako pang-bully ka lang. 72 na, 127. Bully po yan. Oo.
Ano pa rin yun? Mali lang yung ano. Kalang. Oh my god guys, I'm on live stream by the way, okay? Hindi ko ng lahat ng 72, 800. Okay, we are very close to 73, and then next to that is we just have to break 73, 800, and we are on all-time high, just like that, diba? So sige na, mag all-time high na tayo para masaya tayong lahat. Oh God. 72, 73. Yeah, Bitcoin is doing the move. 73. We just need to go to 73, 800. And we're there. Huh? Ano pa rin ba? 70. Yun. Oh my God, guys. Kaya ano mga yung light dyan? Ay, yung cortina. Yeah, I think it's better. $72, 800. Okay, we are very close to 73. And then next to that is we just have to break 73, 800. And we are on all-time high. Just like that. Diba? So, sige na. Mag all-time high na tayo para masaya tayong lahat. Trump wins Ohio. Oh! Hala, Ohio is a swing state. Oh my God. Trump wins Wyoming. Hala. Baka landslide ito. Trump wins Louisiana. Yun. Kaya ano mga yung light dyan? Ay, yung cartoon. Yeah, I think it's better. $72, 800. Okay, we are very close
recently when we're hearing from corporations that people aren't spending ahead of the election, like Marriott?
Well, the thing is that we just received GDP for the third quarter, and the economy grew by 2.8 percentage points. That's very healthy. And indeed, it was still the consumer spending on goods and services. And so that was just in September. So we don't have any data for October, really, in terms of spending, but certainly up through September, consumers are buying things. It's because most of them are still working. Many of them are seeing higher wages. Wages are not growing rapidly as they were during the worst of the pandemic. We were trying to get people back in butts and seats, but certainly wages are still elevated. And that upswing in consumer confidence, it suggests that consumers probably continue to spend, and that they're not really letting the election hold them back on that.
70.
70 kasi guys, pronunciation niya. Yeah.
Malapit na siya bumagsak.
Sure. Well, if we continue to see decent gains in payrolls again, the October readings were very disrupted by hurricanes and also strike effects. If you pull those things out, then you probably had some positive gains in payrolls. But the important thing is that the unemployment rate is still very low. It held at 4.1%. That's really what consumers are paying attention to. Also, as the stock market continues to rally, consumers look at that as a proxy for the economy. So if we continue to see people working, big layoffs, and the stock market
Puntik na siya
continues
mag
to well,
73.
inflation continues to fall,
72,900. So 1,000 na lang. We will be all-time high. All-time high, like never before.
What does the tax situation look like next year? Also,
So,
will there be more tariffs that might cause
ganun.
faster
Saan ka
inflation?
makikita
Those are all
ng
things
asset
that
na
are probably
ganyan?
going to weigh on the consumer.
Diba? You can't find any
Nonetheless,
asset
the
that
good news will
goes
continue.
like that
Markets
very
never
quickly.
sleep, and neither does
Not
Interactive
even land.
Brokers. Discover more opportunities with CME
But
futures
anyway.
across equity indices, interest rates, FX,
Kaya
energy,
bili ka na.
agriculture, and metals. Access CME
Bili na
futures
tayo ng
around the clock
Bitcoin,
with Interactive
guys.
Brokers.
Trades equities higher, session highs on the S&P 500, yields higher by double-digit basis points across the curve. Look at the FX market, dollar mex with a 2.5% move, a much weaker Mexican peso. Coming up next on this program, still awaiting results from Michigan and Pennsylvania. Our special coverage of election night 2024 continues.
Do you know?
Nag-gym ka lang kayo? Oh.
Hindi. Jogging.
Oh.
The top names in business are on
Okay.
We don't know what the policy reaction function is actually going to be off of what has been said. And for that reason, I think you have a number of investors that are actually sort of continuing to plow forward on the view that the economy is in pretty good shape. So that when there is an election outcome, once there's a sense for whether new policy will actually get affected, then they can have a reaction.
Nobody covers business like Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Good morning from our world headquarters in New York. I'm Menace Credit.
And I'm Danny Berger. Let's set your agenda.
Bloomberg Brief delivers the market news, data, and analysis you need live every weekday only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We'll show you what's happening in ETFs like no one else. Bloomberg ETF IQ, Monday on Bloomberg.
City, it's election night 2024. Trump leads Harris 188 to 102. Nothing has surprised us in the projections so far. But take a look at the price action. We've got a 3% move on the small caps. Check out the bond board. 2-year, 10-year, 30-year. Double-digit basis point move across the curve. We're up 15 on 10s, up 16 on 30s. And in foreign exchange, the dollar's stronger against most of G10, if not all of G10. But check out this move in EM. Dollar Mex, 2.5% move, a much weaker Mexican peso. We're still waiting for results from Michigan and Pennsylvania. Bloomberg's Remain Boss is in Detroit. David Gura is in Philadelphia. Remain, it's interesting. You know the markets well. We seem to be making this move before we've got any insight whatsoever on the blue wall. How are you thinking about that this evening?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now because we talk about the number of votes that are in on a percentage basis statewide. We're still below 20%. Now, there are certain congressional districts that have seen a much larger number of votes come in, primarily in the 6th district, the 7th district, and in the 11th district. No real surprises there as the candidates in some of those areas, the leading candidates, I should say, in those areas were expected to win by relatively wide margins. As far as the presidential race here, Kamala Harris has a slight lead right now over Donald Trump. But again, only about 15% of the precincts have actually reported. I do want to turn your attention, though, to Oakland County. And this is going to be a big determinant here of how the state of Michigan goes. The Republican Party actually holding their watch party later tonight in Oakland County in the city of Novi. Again, demographic changes, a big part of the narrative here. Novi, one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Michigan. It also has the interesting distinction of having one of the largest Asian American populations here in the state of Michigan, largely Japanese Americans here. Once again, a potential a block of swing voters that both candidates have been trying to woo. Meanwhile, here in the city of Detroit behind me, the Democrats have set up shop here at the Motor City Convention Center, the Motor City Casino, where they are holding their watch party. We did hear just a little bit earlier from Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, and of course the former mayor of South Bend, who now calls himself a Michigander after relocating here a couple of years ago. He was there trying to fire up the crowd. But again, John, it's going to be a long night here. Well, it's already now approaching 10 p.m., and we still do not have any real sense here of who is actually going to win the state of Michigan.
Well, Dave, it's also going to be a long night in Pennsylvania. Governor Josh Shapiro asking people right now, if you are watching election results in his state, please be patient. What are you seeing right now in Pennsylvania?
So, Henry, when I got into this business, I was told two things. Talk about what you know and be candid about what you don't know. And with that framework in mind, let me just sort of walk you through what I'm looking at. So here I am in Pennsylvania, looking at the returns that have come in here in and around Philadelphia so far. And there's a lot of blue, but we've got 20% of those precincts reporting, so a pretty low number, but still some signs of promise for the Democratic candidate. I moved north up to Lackawanna, which is the home to Scranton, and I see more votes in, 50% of those votes in. And this is, of course, where Joe Biden is from, a place that Democrats really wanted to hold on to. Again, Kamala Harris has an edge there as well. As I look to the west, Allegheny County has the most votes in so far. About 80% of those precincts have reported. Looking good for Kamala Harris there as well. Moving north from there to Erie County, many fewer votes in yet, and we don't really have a sense of sort of how that is going to go yet. And of course, in the middle of the state are a lot of places that have traditionally gone for Republicans, went for Trump the last time around. So we are in for a long night, as the governor said, as I know that you know as well. Again, we're getting these numbers. They're kind of updating in really rapid succession here as these counties sort of give us updates on what they've counted in the unofficial tallies. Looking good for Kamala Harris in many places here, but still a lot of uncertainty about how this is going to go.
David, $1.2 billion in advertising has been spent in the Keystone State. I'm sure everyone there, especially in a swing county like Erie County, cannot wait for this election to be over. You spend some time there. What is the number one issue you're hearing from individuals going out to vote?
You know, some mentioned the economy, but I was prepared for that to be like the overwhelming answer that I got from folks that I talked to here in and around Philadelphia and those who I called when I was on the ground in other parts of the state. Yes, they talked about it. Yes, they brought up tariffs, but there were many other issues that they brought up that said that were really motivating them to go to the polls. Reproductive rights, chief among them. The Dobbs decision was something that was kind of a signal moment for a lot of voters in the state, both for women and for men. That motivated them to go to the polls. And then, you know, other issues regarding health care. There was a moment here a couple of weeks back when a tape was leaked of Dave McCormick, who's the Republican candidate for Senate, saying at a private event that he was in favor of taking a provision out of the Affordable Care Act that allows children up to the age of 26 to remain on their parents' plan. Bob Casey, the incumbent senator, the Democrat, really has made hay out of that in these last few weeks, saying that Dave McCormick would eviscerate the Affordable Care Act. So healthcare, I would say, Emery, another issue that's really motivating people to go to the polls here in Pennsylvania.
David, thank you. Alongside Romain, to the two of you. Gentlemen, we'll catch up with you in the next hour, no doubt about it. Equities right now, session highs by more than 1% on the S&P 500. Libby Cantrell, no real insight right now on the blue wall whatsoever.
No, and I think that in some ways, some of this reporting that we're seeing out of Pennsylvania is to be expected, right? You sort of see this a little bit of a blue mirage, then we'll get the rural vote, and then we'll get the sort of the early vote. So, yeah, again, this is the market is definitely, maybe this is reality, maybe this is a little bit of wish casting, but the market is certainly reacting to what we sort of was the base case for Harris, which is that she would have to win these blue wall states. Now she absolutely has to win them, especially if North Carolina and then Georgia are off the table. But again, not necessarily all that much new information. That's exactly the point. Where the map is right now is where exactly it should be if you follow American politics at this time at night with all these states reporting. Peter, what is the market paying attention to? What insight do they have?
So for the last probably 4 or 5 days, I think the market's actually been looking at power market and crypto markets first and foremost. I think they've been the biggest moves. People see those moves and start saying, well, this must mean something. So I think that's slightly weird, but everything's obviously moving right now. You got the Russell 2000 up 3 points, which is 3%. But I do think crypto seems to be triggering these moves, poly market. And again, these are very thin markets. They're highly often, I don't want to say manipulated, but they tend to gap. And I really look, every time I've been watching large moves, they seem to start in crypto and get dragged along everywhere else. Which again, maybe the crypto bros or whatever you want to call it have been really eager. They really, really want Trump. I think that's the one clear thing, right? They really want Trump. They do not want Harris. They seem to be reacting. I think that's driving a lot of the other markets. And again, might be why we've got ahead of ourselves, because the story really isn't that different than you would expect if Harris was going to win, right? The map doesn't look that much different.
It's an untold story yet. The storybook has not finished. Libby, to your point, are you still telling clients at this point, take a deep breath, don't make any moves? I mean, I think what we're saying, we're going to say exactly what we've been saying for the last 6 months is that this is a knife fight in a phone booth. And that's what we're actually end up seeing. And we've seen some momentum for Trump, 2 weeks ago. Then we sort of saw a shift for Harris over the last few days. But this was effectively, this is sort of representative of a very calcified, polarized electorate. And as these red states get redder, the blue states get bluer. In some ways, this is to be expected that this is just going to come down to very narrow margins. And I think you're right that the pollsters probably look like they're not necessarily wrong here. Like it doesn't seem to be some sort of systemic polling error that looks, that look possible.
And I do think you kind of can take a Harris wave off the table. Like I think there was probably some concern that this would be a huge mandate for Harris, and that mandate's clearly not coming out so far, right? It's going to be close at best.
I think this is actually super important, is that if she wins, she is very likely at this point, just given where everything's trending, she will have a Republican Senate. And that just means in terms of who she can actually get confirmed will be, just have to be by definition more moderate if she wins. You said something interesting though. You just said that it looks like the pollsters potentially got it right. And in your notes you said if the pollsters got it right, they always underestimate Trump, and that means he's probably going to win.
So we are just $700 away from all-time high, guys. So yeah, Bitcoin is making a huge move at the moment. Wow, this is amazing.
Pollsters are projecting is a very tight race, and that's at least as of now. We're not even
73,100.
That's what it looks like. This absolutely could go for Trump, but she still very much has a pathway to 270.
Well, let's finish there. 9:55 on the East Coast. How much confidence do you have that we get a result by sunrise?
Look, I think this is going to be, as we saw, this may not be a repeat of 2020. As a reminder, the AP didn't call that election until Saturday, as we all remember. But this could very well be trending in that direction. But again, if this is more definitive for Trump, then we may know when we wake up.
Another projection, this time for Trump. He wins Kansas, and once again, no surprise here whatsoever. The score's right now 194 to 102. Libby Cantrell of PIMCO, good a cheer of Academy Securities to both of you. Thank you.
194 to 102 electoral votes. We only need 270.
Another 5 states. Our special coverage
So
of election night 2024 continues.
'73 200 guys, '73 200.
CFOs are reshaping the C-suite. Bloomberg's chief future officer shines a spotlight on these dynamic leaders. DraftKings has become a top performer in the booming U.S. sports betting industry. CFO Alan Ellingson knows the company must stay focused on change and innovation to succeed.
We're in an evolving business. We're constantly evolving and tweaking our expectations for how things should be performing. We're constantly looking at things in different ways.
Watch Chief Future Officer only on Bloomberg.
Behind the bright lights and adrenaline of pro sport is an equally exciting world of negotiations and deal making.
That's what we cover each week on our podcast, The Deal.
I love the fact that you have, we say the cojones, but I can't say it.
Moxie.
Yeah, Moxie. I'm Alex Rodriguez, former baseball player turned business executive.
And I'm Jason Kelly, a journalist at Bloomberg. Over the next couple months, we'll hear from all-stars like Billie Jean King.
What should I learn? What should I do? I said, learn the business.
Jay Williams.
You're the asset, but how do you become the principal?
Paul Rabel.
We're going to be the league of digital, and that's why we're going to invest.
Adina Friedman.
I definitely am competitive.
David Rubenstein.
People don't come up to me on the street and say, let's talk about this private equity deal you did recently. Nobody does that. They say, let's talk about the team.
And so many more.
73 300 guys. 73 300. Wow. This is amazing.
Of global finance, economics, and politics, and wherever newsmakers are moving markets. Bloomberg brings you conversations
Just
for deep discussions and reporting
$500
for inflation. Is this new normal?
to all-time high. Oh my lord. Amazing.
I'm Francie Macron, and this is The Pulse, every weekday only on Bloomberg.
From the world of politics to the world of business, Joe Matthew and Keely Lines deliver news, insight, and analysis live 2 times a day every trading day. Balance of Power at 1 and 5 Eastern, only on Bloomberg.
Live from New York City, election night 2024 at 10 p.m. on the East Coast, happening this hour. Polls closing in 5 states across the country, 28 electoral college votes up for grabs, including 6 from the battleground state of Nevada. This coming as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump square off in a race to 270. With the latest is Katie Lance.
Well, John, right now, Donald Trump is ahead in that race. 194 electoral votes have been called for him at this point by either the Associated Press or other networks, compared to just 102 for Kamala Harris. But to this point in the evening, there have been absolutely no surprises. All of the expected blue states have indeed gone blue, and the red states have gone red. But as we consider the remaining path for both of these candidates to get to 270, remember, for Kamala Harris, her easiest path goes through the blue wall, the 3 Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So let's check where we stand at this point in each of those. In Wisconsin, with 35% of the votes in, Donald Trump is leading by a single percentage point, 49.6% to Kamala Harris's 48.9%. In Michigan, we've only got 16% of the tally in thus far. Kamala Harris right now is up by 4 points, 51 to 47 for Trump. In Pennsylvania, as more rural vote has come into the Keystone State, and it's 19, of course, electoral college votes, it has increased the showing for Donald Trump. And right now, these candidates are effectively tied 49.6% to 49.5% for Kamala Harris. We're getting some new calls at this time for Donald Trump. According to the Associated Press, he has added 2 more states, Montana and Utah. No surprises expected, red states, but that does take his tally up to 204 electoral votes. So he right now has double that of Kamala Harris, who remains at 102. And keep in mind, if Kamala Harris cannot pick up Pennsylvania, she's going to have to win either Georgia or North Carolina. In North Carolina right now, there is 66% of the votes counted, and Donald Trump right now is leading her by a margin of 5 points. He has 52% of the vote in North Carolina. In Georgia, there are 80% of the votes counted. He also is leading by a margin of 5 points, 52% to Harris's 47. We're just getting some results reported from Arizona, only 4% in right now, but Donald Trump is leading early. And of course, the 7th and final battleground state, John, just had polls closed. Nevada has closed as of 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
Looking forward to an update there a little bit later this hour. Katie, thanks for that. Appreciate it. For an update on the balance of power on Capitol Hill, at the analysis desk, here's Joe Matthew.
Jonathan, I'm going to stick with the Senate here. So far, all going
73 400. Just 400 shy of all-time high. Oh my God. We are watching history here, guys. We are watching history unfold before our very eyes, live. My goodness, this is amazing.
As Kaylee mentioned, with 18 races, by the way, yet to be called on the Senate front here. Nevada, Senator Jackie Rose, the Democrat, trying to fend off a challenge by Republican Sam Brown. Polls have shown her holding a pretty consistent lead, so this is going to be something worth watching for the sake of Democrats. In Montana now, just projected for Donald Trump to win. Democratic Senator John Tester is in the political fight of his life against a Republican businessman, a former Navy SEAL named Tim Sheehy. This is a race that many polls show favoring the Republican. There have been some outliers. If Tester can hang on here, he gives Democrats a much better
470. Oh my Lord.
That Donald Trump again just won the state in that down ballot
500. 73 500 is coming.
Republicans again only need to flip 2.
Yeah, we just reached 73 500, just 300 less from all-time high, guys. Oh my God, 73 600. Oh no, 73. Oh my God.
Just to put this in context, $52 billion of 10-year bonds were sold at an
We
auction today.
are
You've already lost 10 basis points by this point in the night. It's interesting to think at what point does higher yields, again, this is kind of the Trump trade coming alive, really closely tracking some of the betting market odds.
200.
At what point do higher yields hurt equities? It is not happening yet. Equities across the board.
Oh my God.
It is concentrated again in a
Oh.
Trump trade, that of small caps.
Oh my God, Bitcoin has just reached all-time high. Oh my Lord. Bitcoin has just reached all-time high. 73,907. Ha! Oh! 73,000. Oh! We are going to 74,000, guys. 74,000 is coming in just few seconds. Roll the drum! Oh, oh my God! Oh my Lord! This is amazing. Come on! 74,000 is coming. So we have now reached all-time high.
On 30s. Let's bring in our guest host for the next hour. Joining us around the table, Dan Greenhouse of Solus Alternative Asset Management. Dan, good evening.
Thank you for having me here. And before we get started, I just want to register a complaint. Who'd say to you, or to Bloomberg, or to everyone, that a Brit is chairing our election coverage?
What is the complaint?
I'm not sure yet.
As a legal resident in this country, are you upset by that?
I think the
Have you got a
accent
political issue with that? Do you want to get a little bit deeper about that conversation? Would you rather avoid it through?
I shouldn't say anything about what specifically about the accent before I just came out and said the accent.
Well, you've done it now. We can move on because I'm a gentleman and a good friend of yours.
Yes.
In the bond market, big moves.
Yeah.
What do you make of these moves?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were talking earlier. I think right now, certainly in the election, you would rather be former President Trump than Vice President Harris. But we were also just saying there's a lot of wood to chop here. In Georgia, where there's a lot of optimism, I'm sure, in the Trump camp. Gwinnett County, which is a particularly
74,000. Look at that, guys. 74,300. This will pump all the way to I don't know what, where, but 74, 75, 70, 80 might just be around the corner. Oh my lord. This is amazing.
What do you think the markets maybe are seeing on the margins of these states that are giving them this extra oomph to go all in on the Trump trade?
I wrote down a couple of counties that I was looking at. One is Loudoun County in Virginia. Obviously,
74,500.
Vice President Harris was
Congratulations, everyone.
people who have followed politics.
Congratulations, Bitcoiners. We made it.
Non-great reasons.
Markets never sleep, and neither does Interactive Brokers. Discover more opportunities with CME futures across
Yes. Oh my God. 75,000.
agriculture and metals. CME futures offer around-the-clock access, deep liquidity, and capital-efficient margins, helping you seize opportunities whenever they happen. The best informed investors choose
75,000,
Interactive
guys.
Brokers.
Oh my God.
In 2020, voted 53% for Joe Biden, a huge swing there. Obviously, Hispanic community there. What does that mean for Texas and a number of other districts? And in Osceola,
Oh.
which is one of the few Latino districts, or Latino majority.
Oh my Lord.
He's got 50% of the vote there. Biden won that district with 56% of the vote.
So you'd rather be Trump right now. Is it your baseline that with Trump at the top of the ticket, it is a red sweep? Or do you think he wins the presidency and potentially, maybe not the Senate, but the House potentially could swing back to Democrat?
My assumption coming into this is easy to say now at 10 p.m. with a little bit of dating and show. My assumption was that it would be a red sweep. I thought, listen, I know the press has to pretend like there's a debate here, but the Senate was gone. You knew West Virginia was gone. John Tester was probably gone. If Trump was going to have a good night, which so far he's doing okay, Sherrod Brown is in real trouble, and then you met Deb Fisher. Like, you start expanding the map there for the Senate, but the Senate was gone just by whom was already articulated. The House, we're not going to know the House obviously for weeks, but I think obviously if what's happening continues to happen, and again, for all the reasons that we mentioned, let's not get out our skis here, the House is probably going to go as well. So that was my working assumption, yes.
There were some worries, some concerns in places like Florida. You could see that Senator Scott was concerned about them after the rally at Madison Square Garden. No evidence whatsoever that it's hurt him.
No evidence whatsoever this has hurt him at all. In Florida, it was a very good night for the former president. But to your point, Jonathan, you're looking at very Hispanic communities that they seem to be showing up for Trump at the moment. Again, we still need to know more data. But of course, that was that awful joke at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And then you saw Republicans come out, not just Senator Rick Scott, also the congressman representing New York 4, very tight race, coming out immediately saying, I denounce these comments. A lot of concern, maybe this will hurt them. It hasn't so far.
I'm usually asleep by now, and I wake up sometimes in the morning and I go to the
Wow,
Asian
amazing.
and have a look at some big moves that have taken place. And a lot of people say, well, liquidity is not that great. You see people pushing around markets in Tokyo all the time. I was surprised that people are coming on the program, and I'm hearing it a lot, Dan, that this is illiquidity. It's not a very liquid market.
Sure.
Given that I've heard that basically everyone was staffing their desk preparing to trade this market. So what's going on?
I think whenever you have overnight moves of any substance, you're going to blame it on illiquidity. I don't work at a big bank, so I can't speak to the liquidity or not, obviously in real time. But I think illiquidity seems to be a safe move. But I would also add, I think a lot of people probably of a certain age will remember Carl Icahn talking about how he left the party and went back to the office and made $1 billion.
2016.
Yes, trading equity futures, and
Wow.
maybe somebody wants to be the next.
This
the
is
next person to
amazing.
do that. I mean, again, to
Let's
the point
look
where
at
I was
the
just thinking, we have
charts
some time
here.
to go here.
But a few more hours, potentially. You're going to stick with us?
I will stay here as long as you will have me.
Okay.
And by the time I'm done, I'll have a British accent.
Okay, possibly. Let's see if you welcome back in about 2 or 3 minutes' time. Stay tuned. Coming up
So let's look at for hourly.
from key battleground states, our special coverage
Look at
on
that.
National
So the next
continues.
oh, so we have broken the all-time high for hourly. Let's look at the daily time frame. So we have broken that as well. This will be confirmed by tomorrow. And the weekly, we have broken all time frames. This will be confirmed by next week. So yeah, we need to maintain above 73,800. So 74, around 74. We need to keep that level, stay in that level, defend that support, to for us to keep going. So yeah, that's awesome, guys. So that's I will look at I'll leave it at 4 hourly time frame. Look at that. So it happened in the last 4 hours. So let us hope that it remains above 73,800. Above 73,800. That's the goal.
We moderate the content that we distribute on our platform to try to mitigate, the spread of harmful content. So we've tried to make a lot of choices to, make our service, a healthy and fun place with friends. And we hear that, when we do research, we find that people, rank Snapchat as the happiest platform. They say that it helps them feel closer to their friends. So I think we're really focused on what we can control in terms of improving the product experience. And then we always try to encourage parents, don't let your teenager, use Snapchat unless they're above the age of 13. And there are tools available today on your phone, iOS, Android, that are really easy to use to help limit, what teens can use on their phones.
It's the countdown to the market open as we bring you the first trades across Europe.
We'll debate the most important stories and what will drive the big investment decisions throughout the morning. I'm Guy Johnson.
I'm Kriti Gupta.
And I'm Anna Edwards. Join us every weekday morning for the opening trade, live at 7 a.m. here in London.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Live from New York City, it's election night 2024. Trump 204, Harris 112, and no big surprises either way at the moment this evening. In the equity market, some big moves though. With the latest, let's cross over to Danny Berger. Hey, Danny.
Hey, John. Peter Shear in the last hour said that the reason that these markets are moving, even though we don't have any certainty, is because they're tracking off of betting market odds and of crypto. I just wanted to run through this because this is a betting market that is pricing in near certainty that Trump will take this thing home. Overall, the Trump odds on Polymarket are at a record high, just about 89%. You look at the swing states, it's even more certainty priced in to the betting markets. North Carolina, for example, it is above 96% at 97%. Similar moves also for Georgia and for Arizona. So all of that is leading to crypto, to Bitcoin markets that are going further and further. At one point trading at a record, we are just under that level. Actually, sorry, we've gone back above that level and back under. 73,800 is about where the record is of all time. So we are there, and John, that does seem to be leading the entirety of the Trump trades higher, with yields higher and dollars stronger, and small cap stocks also taking off.
Danny, thank you, appreciate it. Just getting a headline. Anne-Marie out of Texas.
Yeah, that's right. Senator Ted Cruz maintains and holds his seat. Look, this was the white whale moment, potentially for the Democrats. The one
so let's keep the price at this level. Hopefully, we can sustain this.
That's the latest news in the last minute or so. Let's cross over to Terry Haynes of Pangea Policy. Terry, welcome to the program. You've said consistently that Harris had the edge, that we're 70% likely that we get a split government. Dem House, Republican Senate, small majorities. You've got some extra data, some more information. Where do you stand now?
I am where I was, John. The good news for Trump is that, frankly, is that he's on the way to winning North Carolina. That wasn't at all a given, considering the fallout in the governor's race, which got called for the Democrat. But other than that, this is pretty much fallen in line the way it was, and it's still pretty early. We talked this morning, and I gave you particularly Bellwether County in Pennsylvania, and that's only 55% reported right now. So we've still got a long way to go, but I don't think there's any serious negative surprises here.
So when it comes to the map right now, it is what you would expect at 10:15 on the East Coast on election night. What are you looking for the rest of the evening? What county specifically in the blue wall that potentially show Harris strength or Trump strength?
Well, I look at Washington County, Pennsylvania, which is just Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. The reason I do that is because it's got pretty much everything. It's got the highest home prices in the greater Pittsburgh area, and it's also got some of the poorest parts of western Pennsylvania. And the entire game in Pennsylvania always is you pump up blue vote in Philadelphia and the suburbs, and that's supposed to overwhelm the red vote in the rest of the state. Well, you get that in microcosm in Washington County. So I'm going to continue to look really closely to see exactly what happens there.
Terry, you got more data, as John mentioned. Do you have a more of an idea of when this election could be called?
I don't think it's going to be quick. I certainly wish I didn't have to say that. But I don't think this is going to be a situation where we're going to know with a great deal of certainty tonight. I'll say that. The other thing I will say always is that the makeup of Congress for policy for markets is more important than the presidency, and I still think we're on track for a split government here with a marginally Democratic House and a Republican Senate.
Terry, what are you telling investors, though? You think settle in, the map has to come in more, we're not there yet. The market thinks Trump has won.
Well, I don't have a lot of regard for betting markets. I mean, I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to defend polls, but at least the polls. Your unknowns are known, as Don Rumsfeld would say. You know what you got with polls. They are what they are. You got 4% margin of error, and then you've got a situation where even in the best likely voter polls, you look at turnout. Turnout in 2020 was 66%. So there's another deviation there. And but you can kind of figure out and know what you do, know what you know. Betting markets are all like a bunch of people standing around dollar slots telling you to pump one more in or not, my only advice to people involved in betting markets is it's way early.
Hey Terry, it's Dan Greenhouse. But I agree with you on everything you're saying about betting markets, but the 10-year is moving, equity futures are moving. It's not just poly market and Kalshi or whatever. It is assets that are reacting to this.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. But I agree with you, Dan. But back to Anne-Marie's point, I will say also that what comes out of this election, generally speaking, I think regardless of who the president is largely markets negative. Markets are getting squirrelier and squirrelier about fiscal debt and deficit. That's in the United States, and they certainly are squirrely about it in the United Kingdom. We've just seen that with the budget over the past few days. You've got that going, and at the same time, what you've got is you've got a situation where there's a lot of concern about tariffs, for example, and and I think there are going to be more tariffs almost regardless because it's going to morph into a national security issue. And the only countervailings I see on a lot of this stuff is kind of defense and defense industrial base, because post-election, what you'll see Washington move into is a situation where there's much more focus on actually kind of pumping up arsenal of democracy sorts of things.
Hey Terry, that was a highlight of this evening, that laugh. Terry Haynes of Fangia. Terry, appreciate it, sir. Thank you. We are higher by 16 basis points on a 10-year. I'm not going to sit here and say the market's decided that Trump has won, but it's certainly leaning in that direction. And we've seen that lean. It started at about 7:30 Eastern time. It's 10:20 now, and it continues. We've got session highs on equity markets. Bond yields are higher. The dollar's a whole lot stronger. Dan Greenhouse, over the last month, we have seen episodes of where this market will shift towards Trump, even though the polls have been really rock steady. How did you interpret that price action over the last month?
Listen, the street has put together baskets of the Trump trade, so to speak. I think when the media talks about the Trump trade, it's usually through the prism of higher equities or higher bond yields for all the reasons that have been discussed, which we can go into. But you can look at baskets that include, in the case of a Harris basket, that might include solar stocks and wind stocks and all alternative energy stocks. And in the case of President Trump, or former President Trump, it might be crypto stocks, industrial stocks, things like that. Those names have been reacting for some time now. Now, they have clearly been going in the direction of polls. But in the last couple of days, or dare I say even a week or two, there's been a divergence where they've done even better than the polls when the polls have gone down in the case of President Trump. I think when you speak to people around the street, the belief has been for some time that he would win for any number of reasons. The street leans conservative in general, so there's an institutional bias there. But I also think some of the stuff that we follow in much greater detail than the average analyst, if you will, the average person that follows politics, we're leading a lot of people to believe that he probably had the edge.
Dan, when you look at the Trump trade in the market, how do you reconcile two things? People say it's going to be great when you lower taxes, but it's not going to be so good when it puts the walls up on tariffs.
Yeah, so the tariffs are obviously a problem, measured in a couple of $100 billion. I don't think anybody really thinks he's doing 60% on China. I think listen, the legality of a 10% across the board tariff notwithstanding, I think people think there's going to be something like a 10% across the board tariff. I also think
We can get the bad things almost instantaneously with Trump and not the good things for the financial community. That TCJA doesn't expire to the end of 2020.
No, that's correct. Listen, with respect to tariffs, I think my conversations with investors and socialists or just people across the street is we lived through the first 4 years and it wasn't all that bad. He put tariffs on a number of people. It wasn't all that bad. Inflation wasn't out of control. There was an anarchy, cats and dogs living together. None of that really happened in the first 4 years related to the tariffs. Obviously, there was some other stuff going on. But the tariffs didn't drive the types of outcomes that economists are constantly harping on today. And I think there is a universal view, certainly in Washington, as we all know, but on the street as well, there is a universally held view that China is, for lack of a better word, to oversimplify it, a threat. And maybe there is a price to be paid for the country as a whole to countering that threat. I will also add, just on that topic, real quick, China is iffy right now, and one of the strongest legs of their stool is exports. And I think there's going to be people around President Trump who are going to be making the case, this country's pretty weak right now. If we do something serious on the tariff front, we could maybe derail whatever ascent that they've been on and remain on.
You're a fixed income guy. I think it sets up some really interesting
I'm a cross-asset, universal.
Well, let's sit on fixed income just for a moment. I'm giving you a compliment. Usually means like, you're smart, you're a fixed income guy. Okay. So let's sit on fixed income. If we do get a lot of tariffs on China coming into the United States, then someone's got to eat that overcapacity. And it may well be Europe. And you have to imagine that we could have this situation where you have a disinflationary shock in Europe. And I'm not sure how pronounced the inflationary shock would be stateside, but how much divergence would you expect between growth, inflation, and rates, and bond yields, and equities between the United States and Europe? Then
it's a whole lot of questions.
You said you were cross-asset, so that'd be on bonds.
Listen, I think the answer to that question is it's impossible to know, since we don't know when the tariffs are going to be put on what they will be put, and the degree to which they will be increased.
Well, he says blanket tariffs.
Yeah, then listen, we can run the numbers, and you'll raise anywhere from 200 to 500 billion in revenue, something like that, 2 to 400 billion in revenue if you hit everything. Obviously, there's retaliatory tariffs to an extent.
Okay, guys.
Consumers in some cases can't shift behavior as quickly as you would like, so it's just incredibly.
Bitcoin has just reached all-time high, and so hopefully this will consolidate around this price range above 73,800. That's what we want. And I will just wait for the definitive announcement, like the official announcement for who wins in the election. But it looks like Trump is most likely be the winner. But anyway, we'll just wait for the announcement. I will go live when that time comes, but for the meantime, I'm so excited that Bitcoin has just hit new all-time high at this point in time. So this is history in the making. So guys, thank you for watching and staying with me today. I will see you, and hopefully in the next few hours, if not tomorrow. I don't know. We'll wait for the final announcement. But yay! Bitcoin has reached a new all-time high. I will see you again in the next live stream. Bye. Thank you for watching.